In the scenic winelands of South Africa lies the old university town of Stellenbosch. It's more than just a place of oak-lined streets and historic Cape Dutch architecture. For decades it has been the headquarters for a small, powerful and often secretive group of Afrikaner billionaires. They are known informally as the Stellenbosch Mafia. Now this isn't an organized crime syndicate in the traditional sense. Rather, it's a close-knit network of some of South Africa's wealthiest individuals. Their influence stretches far beyond their vineyards and corporate boardrooms, reaching deep into the country's political and economic heart. They are connected through business partnerships, shared histories, and a common goal of protecting their vast interests. The core of this group includes prominent families and individuals who have built immense fortunes. Figures like Johann Rupert, the chairman of the Swiss luxury goods firm Richemont and South Africa-based Remgro, stands out as one of its most visible members. His late father, Anton Rupert, was a key architect of this network's early power. Other notable personalities often associated with this circle include retail tycoon Christo Wiese and the late Marcus Justi, the disgraced former CEO of Steinhoff International. These men didn't become powerful by accident. They strategically built their empires over generations, creating a web of influence that is both formidable and, for many South Africans, deeply controversial. The term mafia itself is loaded, suggesting a level of clandestine coordination and control that members of the group would strongly deny. They prefer to see themselves as successful businessmen and patriots who have South Africa's best interests at heart. However, their critics argue that their collective economic power gives them an undemocratic ability to act as kingmakers. They can influence political appointments, shape public debate, and steer government decisions from behind the scenes. This perception is fueled by the fact that their business interests are deeply embedded in almost every sector of the South African economy, from finance and retail to healthcare and telecommunications. The history of the Stellenbosch Mafia is closely tied to the rise of Afrikaner nationalism during the 20th century. During the apartheid era, leaders like Anton Rupert cultivated close relationships with the ruling political elite. This alliance was mutually beneficial. The government supported the growth of Afrikaner-owned businesses to counterbalance the dominance of English-speaking capital, and in return, these businesses provided economic stability and support for the regime's agenda. This historical foundation of political access and mutual support established a long-standing pattern of influence. It created a legacy where business and politics in South Africa became inseparable, a dynamic that continues to define the country today. The immense wealth controlled by the Stellenbosch network is the primary source of its political influence. With billions of rands at their disposal and control over major corporations, these individuals can secure direct access to the highest levels of government. It's not uncommon for figures like Johann Rupert to have private meetings with presidents and cabinet ministers. This access isn't just for social pleasantries, it's a platform to advocate for policies that favor their business interests. Their economic leverage is so significant that their opinions on matters like tax law, trade agreements, and labor regulations carry enormous weight, often more than the voices of ordinary citizens or civil society groups. This influence extends beyond South Africa's borders, allowing the group to shape international narratives about the country. A clear example of this occurred in June 2025. Johann Rupert was present in a high-profile meeting with President Cyril Ramaphosa and former US President Donald Trump. During the discussion, Rupert publicly corrected Trump's false claims about a white genocide of farmers in South Africa. By intervening at such a high diplomatic level, he demonstrated the group's ability to protect the nation's international image and investment reputation. This action, while beneficial for the country, also highlights the extraordinary power wielded by a private citizen in the realm of foreign policy. The group's strategy has often been described as pragmatic. They align their business goals with what they argue is best for national stability and economic growth. During the later years of apartheid, for instance, Anton Rupert became a critic of the government's hardline racial policies. His opposition wasn't just based on moral grounds, he understood that apartheid was bad for business and international trade. He advocated for economic development and the cultivation of a black middle class as a prerequisite for political stability. This approach of using economic logic to steer policy continues today as the group pushes for market-friendly reforms and a stable investment climate. Their influence operates through a complex web of interlocking board memberships and business alliances. This informal club of billionaires allows them to coordinate their efforts and present a united front on key issues. When one member faces a challenge, the network can often be mobilized to provide support. This collective power makes them formidable players in the political landscape, capable of acting as behind-the-scenes power brokers. They can quietly fund political campaigns, shape media discourse through their ownership of various platforms, and ensure that their perspective is always considered in the corridors of power, effectively making them a powerful, unelected force in South African democracy. The influence of the Stellenbosch Mafia isn't exclusively negative. It has also been directed towards positive social and economic initiatives. The group, particularly the Rupert family, has a long history of a certain kind of philanthropy aimed at fostering economic stability. During the apartheid era, when discriminatory laws severely restricted black economic activity, Anton Rupert pioneered ways to support black entrepreneurs. He established the Small Business Development Corporation, an entity designed to provide capital and mentorship to those excluded from the formal economy. This was a form of strategic social engineering, based on the belief that economic empowerment could create a stabilizing buffer against political unrest. This advocacy for black entrepreneurship involved creative and sometimes subversive methods. For example, since black South Africans were legally barred from owning property in many areas, the Ruperts used legal workarounds like 99-year leases. This allowed black business people to access premises and capital that would have otherwise been unattainable. These actions demonstrate a long-term strategy of using economic tools to achieve specific social outcomes. Proponents argue that such initiatives have contributed positively to building a more inclusive economy. However, critics often point out that this philanthropy also served their business interests by creating new markets and ensuring a more stable environment for their own enterprises to thrive. On the other side of this coin lies the dark shadow of corruption and elite impunity. The most devastating example of this is the Steinhoff International scandal, which stands as South Africa's largest ever corporate fraud. At the center of this collapse was Marcus Jooste, a prominent member of the Stellenbosch elite and the company's CEO. For years, Jooste presided over a scheme of massive accounting fraud that artificially inflated the company's value. When the truth finally emerged in late 2017, Steinhoff's share price plummeted, wiping out billions of rands in investments and pension funds for ordinary South Africans. The Steinhoff scandal exposed the dangerous side of the Stellenbosch network's power. It showed how the immense influence and perceived untouchability of its members could pose a systemic risk to the country's entire financial system. The scandal raised serious questions about corporate governance, regulatory oversight, and whether the close-knit nature of the Stellenbosch elite created an environment where such wrongdoing could go unchecked for so long. The fallout from Steinhoff was not just financial, it severely damaged public trust in big business and reinforced the perception of a powerful elite playing by its own set of rules, with devastating consequences for everyone else. For years it seemed as though the powerful figures within the Stellenbosch network were beyond the reach of the law. However, the aftermath of the Steinhoff scandal has slowly begun to test the strength and independence of South Africa's institutions. The sheer scale of the fraud made it impossible to ignore, forcing regulators and law enforcement to act. Since mid-2023, there has been a noticeable shift towards accountability. In a significant move, the South African Reserve Bank froze 1.4 billion rands worth of assets linked to Marcus Jooste and his associates, signaling a serious intent to recover some of the illicit gains from the scandal. This institutional response has gathered momentum. South Africa's Financial Sector Conduct Authority, or FSCA, issued Jooste a record-breaking fine of 475 million rands for his role in publishing false and misleading financial statements. While other executives involved in the Steinhoff saga have been arrested and some have even been sentenced, the ultimate figurehead faced mounting legal pressure. This culminated dramatically on March 21, 2024, when Marcus Jooste died by suicide, just 1 day before he was due to hand himself over to the authorities to face prosecution in South Africa. His death marked a tragic end to the saga, but underscored the growing pressure on those implicated. These recent legal actions represent a crucial moment for South Africa. They suggest that, despite challenges, the country's democratic institutions are capable of holding even the most powerful members of the economic elite accountable. The successful prosecution and asset seizures in the Steinhoff case could serve as a powerful deterrent, signaling an end to the era of impunity. This could, in turn, begin to chip away at the informal power of the Stellenbosch Mafia, forcing a greater degree of transparency and ethical conduct in corporate South Africa. The future influence of the group may depend on its ability to adapt to this new environment of heightened scrutiny. Ultimately, the story of the Stellenbosch Mafia is a complex narrative of power, influence, and the intricate dance between capital and politics in a modern democracy. Their impact on South Africa has been profound, shaping its economy, its policies, and its international standing in ways both beneficial and deeply damaging. The ongoing legal reckoning may redefine the boundaries of their power, but their immense wealth and deep-rooted networks ensure they will remain a significant force in the country's future. The challenge for South Africa will be to balance the benefits of their economic contributions with the democratic imperative of ensuring that no group, no matter how wealthy, is above the law.